okay, legit, like, as nice as it sounds like to be on Big Mom's Island, this is one I said, there's got to be a catch to it where either people have to be murdered, or there's got to be some, like, where, I don't know, fuck it, there's like Mario, where, like, instead, like, the Mushroom Kingdoms originally was, like, bricks in the original game, fuck it, they're, like, residents. No, it turns out it's slightly a little bit worse because they have a King Kong / Godzilla like situation every now and then when Big Mom seems to just have a fucking nervous breakdown and she just has like a massive eating disorder where it's just she just goes nuts and decides to eat the town, and she's just like asked for something like, I think it was like creme bouche or something. It's like, I'm screaming for these sweets, I need them, and they're the only things that can even stop her at this point. Since like the first half of the chapter was basically Luffy and crew going around, it's like they thought like going around finally like going across all the maps and stuff that they got originally from like Pudding, and when they were seeing that, it's like, oh, like they're pretty much going throughout this entire route just so that they can keep a safe distance between like all those sort of little sensor things that we had originally throughout, like when they arrived here on like Tot Island. Apart from that, there really wasn't too much to say about like what happened with like Luffy's crew, apart from like right at the end that they was getting like attacked by like a giant like sea centipede at the end of it, and it was like, oh, everyone's gonna get to work, and we're gonna see like, you know, a little bit more action from like Pedro, we're gonna see a little bit more from Carrot, so it's like, hey, we're gonna see like exactly what they can do, so I'm looking forward to that. But I mean, at the end of the day, they're just beating up a giant sea monster. It's nothing too special really. And like I said, like what we got to see of like Big Mom on Whole Cake Island is that she just decided to just eat everyone, and like just the casualties were just continuing to like arise, and like people were trying to stop her, and it was like all her people were like, we generally need to go and fucking stop this because this is getting out of hand. And even to the point where it was like one of her sons had to come out. I think his name was like Muscat. Like he's like, look, like the chefs are working on it as we speak. You need to calm down. We're gonna get on it and all that. And it's like, just don't do it. And to see that, like how like uncontrollable she is at this point, and she's like, she doesn't even recognize her like her own son's life, and she's just going, treat or life, like that, just like step like on all fours, like just doing it. It's like, I want to eat it. I don't get in my way. I want to eat it. And we finally get to see a little bit of like Big Mom's power, like a little bit of the devil fruit. Although there's a lot more of like not too much of an explanation, but seemingly what seemed to happen is that like there was like some sort of cloudy thing like started coming out of them, and immediately ripping it out and eating it from what it seems like. And immediately it was like, oh, Muscat is dead, so that must, like, did she just eat the soul? Is that something that she's like just able to do? And that's probably like why she's like one of the most fearsome, like why she got that title of Yonko, because she's got something where she can just rip a soul out of someone and just eat it. And it's like how she was just saying 40 years, so I'm guessing that's how old like Muscat was at that point. Like he was about 40 years old, and she's just like, oh, I've got 40 years of life. Maybe this is the way like how she's able to like survive for this long. Like maybe this could be another thing as well that she's able to do. Like I'm kind of curious about that, like what she said. So maybe it's like that's the thing, whether it's like the older someone is, the more sweet. Like I don't know. There's a lot of like explanations obviously that we can do to it, like exactly what her devil fruit power like has, and like a limitation on it. But to the fact that she's able to like grab this and like just rip it out, and from what they were saying, it's like, you need to calm down, Muscat, or if you cower, she'll take your lifespan away. And that's seemingly what like seemed to happen, where it was like, yep, you're dead, that's it. And it's like, if you don't like, if you're not scared of her, and if you're not afraid of doing any of that, then it seems to be okay. Which we can clearly see like right at the end of the chapter that Jinbei arrives with like the croc, and like, fuck it, it's the sweets, like, because it's such a hard name to say. Like, and this is the thing, I used to be a fucking chef, so it's like, even to me it's a hard name to pronounce and all that. And like, it was kind of fucked up because they were actually speaking, and they, to be fair, it looked like a bunch of executes from like Pokemon. It just looked like a bunch of those egg Pokemons from like the first generation. It looked like, oh god, we're going to be eaten, please save us. And like immediately like using it and shoving it down a fat fucking gob and just saying like, yeah, use this, eat that. And she's like, oh, this is great. And finally the temper tantrum ends. So I don't know what's more scarier at this point, Big Mom when she's normal, or Big Mom on a fucking Psycho Godzilla run when she just decides to eat her entire island. And she's like, oh, it's my loyal warrior, the Siege Jinbei, how's it going? And it's like, thank you for that little poneglyph that like gift earlier. And it's like, so Jinbei must have, like, Jinbei gave them a fucking like poneglyph? I'm kind of curious. So that must be the fact that probably what he did is that Jinbei gave her like the stuff like or the information like on the Fishman Island poneglyph. That's probably what happened. Although she's like, oh, I can't read it for the life of me though. So never mind. It's just like, oh, you got something to torture me, and it's like I had something of the utmost importance. It's just like, you wouldn't want me to quit my crew now, would you? Like that. So I imagine what's going to be happening now is that Jinbei, in his own way, because obviously like he isn't gonna betray the fucking Straw Hats at all. He isn't gonna do anything. I imagine what's gonna be happening with Jinbei. Gonna go and say like, look, just don't hurt the Straw Hats and all that. They're just here for could you not pick like a better I think in his own way he's gonna try it, but then he might try and sideswipe it, delegate it a little bit, or like anything like that. If not, like I'm kind of curious to see what he's going to be saying, but I feel like at one point he is going to mention the Straw Hats and saying like, look, do this and that, and even regardless of what, like they're here, he knows they're there, he's already got information, so we know that like, especially to deal with Big Mom, that they're going to have an ally here, that they're going to do it. Maybe he might like do something where he's like going to be undercover, where he's going to like pretend that he's on her side, like by like fighting Luffy or something, but then like drag him out and say, hey, actually, like calm down, this is just so you can get out of here. Like maybe because that'd be interesting if like at one point like Jinbei is forced to fight Luffy, like it's like, oh, I have to do this, since like we haven't seen him go against like a fishman or anything like that since like we've seen him against Arlong, and we've seen them go against that piece of shit from Fishman Island. It'd be like seeing him to actually go against like a real challenge like Jinbei out of the Warlords. But I imagine like at the end of the day, like after everything that they've gone through, like Jinbei is gonna be a massive ally to them, and like he's gonna be an absolute big help when it comes down to dealing with someone like a Big Mom of the fucking Yonkos. And you know that he's only been here and he's only doing this because he cares for his fucking people, and that like Fishman Island is part of their territory. But no, I did enjoy it. I think like the first half, like with Luffy and the crew, it's like it really was nothing. Like for what we saw, is like, yeah, we know that they're moving, and it's just like we got confirmation about it, and it's just like, yeah, they're moving around, and that seemingly that they're gonna like getting attacked by some centipede. However, though, the whole thing about Big Mom, that's like, I feel like that was the most interesting part of the chapter, since we know a little bit about what Jinbei did, a glimpse at her power, and the fact that this could be like her biggest strength / weakness, the fact that she could go on like these giant sugar rampages, and this is like what makes her so deadly. And it seems like the actual power that she has herself is really fearsome, and like the abilities that seem like take out a soul like that, like that's like honestly what the power's got to be, because the fact that it's like you just did that and there was no other damage on like Muscat, so that's honestly what it's got to be. Like it's just got to be like, I just took your life energy, and it's like I took the 40-year like spans and all that, and it's just like so I'm very interested like a lot more about her powers, like what more she can do, and just clear to see like what Jinbei's going to be saying next week. But after a week waiting, I thought it was a good chapter, but I honestly felt like the start, we was like, really, like, we didn't need too much of this. Like, I was like, really, come on. I think most One Piece status can even say that. It's like, we had a little comedy, like, here and there, but it's like, not a lot of that really needed to be said, apart from that they're moving from island to island. So I kind of wish we saw a little bit more of the Straw Hats kind of doing something a little bit interesting. But honestly, I enjoyed the chapter. I think I'd give it an 8 to an 8.5 out of 10. I think like the stuff that was really interesting was like kind of like finding out about Big Mom, the rampage, and like a lot of things with like Jinbei as well. So honestly, we have to wait and see. But that's all from me. So if you enjoyed this One Piece chapter as much as I did, then you know what to hit that like, you know what to hit that subscribe. That's all from me. So thank you much for watching as always, and I'll see you guys though next time.